$18 lunch should not need a financing decision. But today at checkout, it quietly gets one. The screen doesn't say $18. It says $4.50 today. Then 3 more payments later. No interest, no application, no moment where your card gets declined in front of the cashier. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how that $4.50 number is designed to work. You'll see why your brain stops asking, "Can I afford this?" and starts asking something smaller instead. And you'll see the 1 3-step check that puts the real price back in front of you. This isn't a niche checkout option anymore. It's attached to sneakers, groceries, concert tickets, everyday takeout. According to a June 2026 Federal Reserve FEDS note, 6 major providers issued an estimated $156.7 billion in US BNPL-related credit in 2025. Pay in 4 plans plus longer installment loans combined. That's not a niche electronics category anymore. That's ordinary Tuesdays quietly turned into a stack of small loans. Here's the part that matters more than the total dollar figure. It changes how your brain prices things. Picture a $200 jacket. That number forces a real comparison. Rent, groceries, savings, everything else competing for it. Now the screen says 4 payments of $50. The question isn't, is this worth $200 anymore? It's, can I cover $50 today? The price didn't change at all. What changed is how small it feels to you. Economists call this the pain of paying, the discomfort of watching money actually leave your hands in real time. Cash creates that sting immediately. A credit card delays it a few weeks. This breaks it into 4 separate pieces. And once a price gets broken into pieces small enough, it stops registering as one real financial decision at all. That's exactly why the button sits at checkout right beside the price. It's not a courtesy, it's a conversion tool. It shows up right when you've already pictured yourself owning the thing. Shoes on, tickets booked, bags packed. You've made the emotional decision already in your head. The price was only ever the last obstacle in the way. The button quietly removes that obstacle for you and hands it to a version of you 2 weeks from now. Here's how a typical loan runs in practice. 1 payment today, 3 more pulled automatically every 2 weeks after. A $100 purchase becomes $425s, manageable enough on its own, but it is rarely ever on its own. 1 plan for clothes, 1 for concert tickets, 1 for a new laptop, 1 for last week's takeout order. Each individual payment looks harmless by itself. Together, they quietly build what is really a calendar of tiny debts. CFPB research on major BNPL lenders found more than 3/5 of borrowers had multiple simultaneous loans open at some point during the year studied. A third of users ran loans across multiple different providers at the exact same time, meaning no single lender ever sees the full calendar. A traditional loan gives you 1 balance, 1 lender, and 1 due date to track. This gives you a moving one. $27 on Monday, $14 Thursday, $38 next week, 22 more right after payday clears, small enough to forget individually, frequent enough together to quietly wreck your cash flow before you even notice it happening. And because most of it runs on autopay, the decision happens today, while the real consequence lands later, silently. Your next paycheck starts feeling less like income and more like a payoff for a calendar you never fully saw. That's the trap underneath the trap. The illusion that next payday is still fully, freely, entirely yours to spend. Part of it already belongs to a lunch you finished weeks ago and have mostly forgotten ever happened. In the Federal Reserve's 2025 household survey, 16% of U.S. adults said they'd used a BNPL product in the prior year. That's not a fringe habit anymore. It's close to 1 in 6 adults, and the share keeps climbing every survey cycle. Just over 1 in 4 of those users had paid late on a BNPL loan at least once that year. Among users with household income under $25,000, that late payment rate rose sharply, all the way to 40%. That doesn't mean every single user is in financial trouble. Used deliberately, it can protect cash flow without paying any interest. There's a real difference between I have the money and I'm simply choosing to time the payments and something else entirely. That something else is quieter and far more common. I can't afford this at all unless the price gets split into pieces. Here's the number that reframes the entire video. Among BNPL users earning under $25,000, 40% said splitting the price was the only way they could afford the purchase at all. For that specific group, this product isn't replacing careful cash flow management. It's quietly replacing the word no itself. An empty bank account used to be a hard, unmistakable stop. Now the checkout screen quietly negotiates around it for you. You don't need $100 anymore. You need $25. You don't need the whole vacation. You need the deposit. Every one of those small entrance fees adds one more date to the calendar of tiny debts already running in the background. It gets more serious once it reaches groceries. Roughly 1 in 5 BNPL users has financed food or delivery this way. Among that specific group, nearly half said it was the only way they could afford that particular grocery order at all. A television is a discretionary purchase you can still sell later. Groceries aren't, and the food is gone long before the payments are. You end up financing meals you've already eaten using income you genuinely haven't earned yet, 2 and 4 weeks out. Even interest-free isn't actually free. Miss one payment and most plans auto-draft anyway, sometimes overdrafting the account entirely. The Fed found 11% of users had a BNPL payment directly trigger an overdraft or insufficient funds fee from their bank. Among users already hit once with a late fee, nearly 4 in 10 also went on to get hit with that overdraft. So the label at checkout says 0% interest. The bank statement, once fees stack up quietly, tells a very different story. There's another reason this calendar stays invisible for so long. For years, most of these loans weren't reported to credit bureaus at all. One lender genuinely couldn't see the 5 other installment plans you already had running elsewhere, all at the exact same time. That's starting to change now slowly as reporting frameworks catch up. But most trade lines still aren't fully shaping credit scores yet. The Fed found nearly 40% of users believed on-time payments were actively building their credit. At the time surveyed, they generally weren't. So you take on the full repayment risk of a real loan, without the credit benefit most people naturally assume comes attached to it. But the deepest trap here isn't financial at all. It's behavioral, and it quietly resets what feels like a reasonable purchase to make. Someone who'd genuinely hesitate to finance a $1,000 television might comfortably finance 10 separate $100 plans instead without blinking once. Same total debt, dollar for dollar. Completely different feeling because it never arrived as one single moment worth stopping to consider. No loan officer sitting across a desk, no paperwork to sign, no single alarming number, just a long series of small, easy yeses. That's how financial pressure usually shows up in real American life. Rarely one dramatic bad decision, almost always many small quiet ones. Subscriptions, auto renewals, default tips at checkout, delivery fees stacked on delivery fees, and now installment plans on purchases too small to ever need one. And this habit rarely stays contained to where it started. It tends to spread downward toward smaller and smaller purchases over time. People who first used it only for furniture or electronics gradually start reaching for it on clothing, then meals, then almost anything. The threshold for this is worth splitting into payments quietly drops the more normal the button starts to feel in daily life. A 2026 debt advice analysis found that clients seeking help now carry noticeably more open BNPL plans on average than they did just 2 years earlier, and even though each individual balance has actually gotten smaller. So here's how you actually check your own calendar of tiny debts. 3 steps and about 5 honest minutes with your phone. First, open every single app and list every remaining payment you owe, not just the one payment that's due next. Second, add that full total up completely and compare it against your next 2 paychecks, not just the very next one. Third, don't start a single new plan until every existing plan already on that list is fully and completely paid off. If groceries or gas keep showing up repeatedly on that list, that's genuinely not a checkout problem anymore at all. That's a budget signal and remains. And no payment plan, however convenient, actually fixes a real gap between income and expenses. Before you tap that button next time, ask yourself one honest question. Would I buy this at the full price today, with no split at all? If the honest answer is no, the plan isn't quietly making the purchase affordable. It's just making the no a little quieter. The trap was never really that you couldn't pay today. It's that checkout slowly trained you to stop feeling the full price at all. Keep thinking. Stick.